Yes, it's Shanna.
And Jill.
And Clayton.
Clayton. How is everybody this morning?
All right. I hope everybody's doing.
Are you ready? Are you ready for what quite possibly could be the greatest video ever in Detox Girls history?
We'd be up for that.
Yes.
That would be good. We're ready. Yes. Okay, well, let's start out with just our little disclaimer as we let everybody log in to StreamYard. So I know we're running a minute late today. So as always, this is not medical advice. This is just information, education, and Clayton, entertainment. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right.
I can hear you.
So this is just for entertainment purposes, information, education. Take from it what you want. Please, if you have any medical questions or concerns, contact your physician because we are not your physician, but we are here to entertain and educate. And we're really excited today because we have Clayton here, owner, founder, wonderful Root person, Root founder and CEO, and expert extraordinaire.
CEO. Hold on, we have to be clear. Not the CEO. But the CEO might attend.
That might be exciting. If we had a little guest, an additional guest today, that might be exciting.
Yes.
We shall see. So let's proceed. Let's get into the fun because you guys have thrown some interesting questions in the last week, and I think the community has some questions.
Yes.
So
your
floor.
Okay. So we had, as everybody knows, we have moved over to Root, and we've been so excited. The research on Clean Slate and Zero In and Restore is wonderful. We've been posting videos, video clips, full YouTubes, posts. Clayton has jumped in. I mean, who else is lucky enough in the world to have Clayton jump into our group and answer some questions and help us out, which has been amazing. But we've gotten some questions along the way. So I think we're going to start with some of the general questions that we've gotten about the products. Yes?
Yes.
Shanna, you want to start that up?
Yes. Okay. So we have a lot of questions about the sourcing of the ascorbic acid. So could you, Clayton, help explain to us why you have ascorbic acid in the product, what it does, and what the sourcing is for it?
So the source is we have a bunch of underage children in Southeast Asia that grab limes and squeeze them very tightly in order to milk the juice from the limes, and then we extract it. I'm not Nike. Oh, sorry. We source from natural sources, but ascorbic acid is an extract. So the labs that we use to create the powder, they use natural sources to create the ascorbic acid. But here's why we use the ascorbic acid. Ascorbic acid is able to bind to some of the binding sites of the fragments, the clinoptilolite fragments, the orthosilicic acid cage structure that we have. What that does is it helps improve permeability across cellular. Vitamin C has a lot of human body. It also, did I go away? There we go.
No, we're still here.
So it improves cellular permeability. It has some additional and creates, I don't know, is this my internet?
You're freezing, yeah.
Everybody. So it provides stability and it provides an improvement in permeability of the
Oh, you're frozen. Technical difficulties. Sorry,
Technical,
everybody.
Yes. Uh-oh, he's really frozen this time.
He's really frozen.
Yeah.
I guess I'll kind of continue until he jumps back in.
Okay.
But it helps with the permeability of the cell, and because there's vitamin C receptors inside of the cell, it actually carries the orthosalicylic acid into the cell, so it can actually go cellular into the body to remove the mitochondria waste and everything that's going on in there, to remove it from the body, to help with actual cellular detox. So that's kind of what it does, is whenever it goes in. So without that, there's no way for it to get into the cell. So that's one of the ways that makes it superior. And one of the reasons why we fell in love with it was because of its ability to do that and actually go into the cell. And we see huge amount of changes because a lot of the toxicity comes from inside the cell and then it goes into the body. And that's what creates a lot of the waste inside the body. So whenever you can get it out of the cell, you're helping the body heal at a true cellular level instead of just free floating in the blood.
Oh, look at you. Awesome answer. Good. Sorry, I was trying to pop up here because I'm sure we're going to have 100 questions today. And so I was trying to find our live here so I could find the questions as well. And we'll get Clayton back on here. So in case you're new, there we go. So in case you're just joining us for the first time, so what we're talking about is in Clean Slate. So that's the detox product that we've been talking about. And Clean Slate is just a different detox than what we had been talking about. Research has evolved, and we've been fortunate enough to have Clayton,
yes,
and company join us. Well, let's see if he must be getting a storm, he said.
Oh gosh.
It's frozen again. I know, we got one overnight.
Still frozen, Clayton. Oh wait, he's loading.
There we go.
There we go.
I don't know how storms can knock out freaking internet. Not my place. I don't get this, but
I lost mine for 3 days last week. I was not.
It's hard. It's hard. They don't want us doing this. Okay.
Yeah? Okay.
So allow me to reprise what I was saying. I don't know if we caught everything. So I've looks like the winds have died down. Maybe the internet will work because the winds are gone. So we use the ascorbic acid to improve cellular permeability of the product. And clinoptilolite is very well established for its capabilities. But as people have seen with many aspects of biotech and pharma, and it's the part that is not really discussed very much because most people don't understand it. And when you have a wife that comes from biotech and pharma and has a background in nanotechnology and bioscience engineering at Harvard, you understand that in pharma, what they've become really good at. Hey, Jen, can you close my door real quick, please? Can you close that? Thank you. Is pharma's really good at taking something natural and synthesizing it, or taking one specific component as an extract and synthesizing it to turn it into a pharmaceutical. So when you look at clinoptilolite, I think everybody here has some semblance of knowledge that clino is absolutely amazing, but in its natural structure, it's a lot like a diamond, right? And it's funny that some idiots actually talk about using synthetic diamonds and synthetic aluminosilicates, but you're out of your freaking mind if you ever want to do that. But the key is, if you look at a diamond in the environment, it doesn't look like a diamond that's polished and finished. You might even walk right over it because you don't know what you're standing over. So in its natural state, it has amazing properties. But if you have a process that is able to unlock its capability and polish it and adjust it and make it brighter and maybe add to it, then you can create something that is extremely unique and even more advantageous than before, right? Do you want a rock that's found in the ground? Or do you want an amazing, beautiful diamond ring that is from that rock in the ground, but it's been through a process that makes it even greater than it was naturally? That's why we add the ascorbic acid. That's why when you look at the label, you'll see silicon dioxide. because we're taking clinoptilolite, we're processing it in a manner to break apart that cage structure, but unlock a massive amount of the bioavailable bioavailable silicon dioxide. The other term is orthosilicic acid. So we add the trace minerals, right? Sea salt and the ascorbic acid to create this superstructure. So not just clinoptilolite. Because clinoptilolite alone in its natural state, amazing. But when you process it and you make a superstructure with that is not only able to bind and grab, but also distribute and add the key trace minerals, the orthosilicic acid that is available, and you guys can add the link to some of the research that's been recently published over the last couple of years on orthosilicic acid. And here's what's important. The best source of bioavailable silica and orthosilicic acid is clinoptilolite. We're the only ones who've ever been able to unlock its capability. That's what separates this and makes this so unique from everything else. Is here's what it took to do it. And here's what differentiates Root and the products from everything else in the industry. It took a woman. Oh, I wasn't paused. It took an amazing mom who had a background and a focus on taking care of herself and taking care of her children that created something that's never been done before, that is more advanced than anything that's been put on the market. And this woman, does she have a master's in science, a PhD, a PsyD, an EDD, a postdoc at Harvard in nanotechnology and bioscience engineering, and Cornell in pharmaceutical management and nutritional counseling? And was she at Pfizer, Alexion, Biogen, IDEC, Johnson & Johnson, UCB, Bristol Myers Squibb? Yeah. And for the people that want to question her education, let's walk with me for a second, because these things make me a little bit passionate. So let's look at something really quick, because right outside my office, it's funny because they say success leaves clues. And behind me, oh, look, the one up top is a doctorate of education. This one is from, that's from South Alabama. This is a master's in science from South Alabama. Oh, let's look at this one. Wait a minute. Wait, let's get position. Oh, what does that say? It says Harvard University. Oh, wait a minute. That one says Cornell University. Let's look at this one over here. Oh, that says Cornell University and Charter University, which is in the UK. I don't think that she just puts fake freaking paperwork on the wall. Guys would do that. Women don't. Women do shit. Guys talk and whine and complain, and the really weak ones talk about women. That's the problem. So it took a woman to do what really needed to be done, because what do we know? If you want stuff done in this world and you want it done right, you want it done well, have a woman do it.
Right. And on top of that, a mom who's fighting for her kids.
Because
right?
Don't mess with Mama Bear.
No.
And that's what makes this really unique, is everything we do has been done by mom. And that's why when you look at the box of Restore, the sachet says from our heart to your hands, because that's the difference. Is we're playing with quantum-ceuticals. Everyone else is like playing with stuff out of the dirt. going, oh, this is good for you because nature did it. Yeah, well, nature created the ingredients that we play with, quantum physics, and an amazing woman is what created our stuff. It's never been done before. So you can play in the sandbox or play with the goddess.
Great.
Choose.
So that brings me to my question. So because we know Dr. Christina, her reasoning behind it and everything was from her heart. It was for her children and for healing herself. And if you guys don't know a lot of her story, you can go back to the very first video. Clayton kind of went through that. So you can go back through the first one on her struggles and why she did what she did. But how does that correlate with her background and knowing how it works and everything? How does that correlate to what we know and what we are told as disease in the body?
So the key thing is a difference in philosophy and approach, and actually a level of spirituality that a lot of people are unable to still accept, right? She'll tell you when you have a chance to talk with her. She can remember being the age of 2, having a tea party at home and sitting on God's lap and God telling her that she was going to be okay, that she was his child, and she was here to heal people. She'll tell you that. And so you have someone that at the age of, 19, that as a middle schooler won National History Day because she had a photographic memory. She can look at something and memorize it like that. She didn't have to study in school because she looked at the page of the book and remembered it, and she could recite it. But at the age of 19, when she was off to college, she contracted Lyme disease, lost her memory, wiped clean, didn't know her name, didn't know where she was from, took about 2 years to recover, but came out of it with an eidetic memory and the ability to speed read. So you want something freakish, you can watch her read documents. She turns pages like this, and she's actually remembering everything that she's seeing. And she's able to take everything she's experienced. She had Lyme disease, and then she was given the gift of having cancer as an expectant mom with twins, that one of the twins became cancer, a partial molar pregnancy. And instead of having a medical abortion, because every doctor, every one of them told her that there was a 99.99% chance that either the son that was in the womb that wasn't cancer was going to die, or that if he did come to term, that he would be autistic, he would have, serious medical conditions. And she said, I'm carrying to him and he's going to be fine. She went against the establishment and said, great, I'm going to do things my way. And he's exceptional. And they thought he was autistic as a kid because he was so smart. So it's like, actually, he was the exact opposite of what everyone was saying. But she took the choice to have a brain tumor, a spinal tumor, and skin cancers of all different kinds to have her first son. But when she went through that journey, she's like, okay, she was in pharma, she was in biotech, and she had to make the decision. Actually, that was before she was in it. She had a master's in science and psychology initially. And she went the natural route to take care of herself because she did her research. And she's like, okay, I'm going to do spirulina. I'm going to do these things. She went vegan for a bit to get all the veggies and everything in. And she was able to have an amazing kid. So through these journeys, and then having our third son that had cancer when he was 2, and going through that process of taking the natural approach and doing things her way, listening to some of the oncologists that she was teaching at the time, because she was also an adjunct professor in her late 20s at Johns Hopkins in oncology. It's the little things that a woman does. And this is the thing, is some people question her background. Like, you didn't do all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, she did. The problem is a guy would never be able to do what she's done. A woman could. One woman could. She did. She's an anomaly. She absolutely is. That's why I call her a pegacorn. because she's a unicorn with peacock Pegasus wings. You've never imagined a beast like that could exist. And then when you see it, you go, quite possibly this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And she functions at a level of which we are unfamiliar because of her experience, because of how she was made and what she's here to do. And she does things that typically are 10 to 20 years ahead of where industries are. She's done it throughout healthcare and in biotech. And not to get into details, but I've seen it. Companies she's created. I mean, she's sold multiple companies through mergers and acquisitions, and for $30 million in interoperative monitoring in the spine space, because she was the first person to do a spine registry looking at interoperative monitoring, which is electrical monitoring of the spine during spine surgery to make sure a spine surgeon doesn't hit a nerve and paralyze you or kill you. And she created an FDA-approved research registry to track quality and cost improvement throughout healthcare in different areas, and got an FDA waiver to do retrospective research without patient consent, which is almost impossible to get. She did it all on her own when pharmaceutical companies have departments for it. She functions at a level of which we are completely unfamiliar because she's a mom on a mission. Mm-hmm. And she's here to heal people and help people. And it was through that process that we get to where we are now. When she created the products, I had to create a business model that fit what our mission, purpose, and vision was around. And that's why we had to do something that had never been done before, because she's doing stuff that's never been done before. And the systems that are in place are broken, and they're meant to prostitute people in every aspect. And most of us have gone through life and didn't realize it. So we broke the mold and said, screw it, we're doing this different, and we're going to put things together in a manner that we're going to help a lot of people in every aspect. And that is why we're here.
I love that, mom on a mission.
I love that too.
That's what our community is made of, is moms on a mission, moms that are tired of all of the doctors spouting all this stuff because it's just what they're told. And I'm not saying all of them are bad, but there are some good ones, but the majority of them, they are just told what they're told. I have family members who are the head geriatric doctors in the country, and whenever I ask him about something, he fact checks me with notes, kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that they get.
It goes to a big thing. Do you go to a mechanic to figure out the plumbing in your house? You don't, because they're not trained. Now, you might have the greatest mechanic ever, and people might say, oh man, he is the greatest mechanic. And people will go to him with questions and go, wow, you know this stuff. Great. Do they know plumbing? No. Do you know that based on being the greatest mechanic ever, that he could work on a Tesla versus a 2005 Ford F-250? No. Because they're completely different. Things have changed. Yeah. But if you don't have the right approach, you haven't studied the right areas, even within a construct, how do you know that the person that you're referring to actually has the knowledge and experience to address what you're asking questions for? Just because someone holds a title doesn't make them an expert.
Right, exactly.
And that's the big thing. And this is where moms come in. And it's like we were talking about yesterday. It's so hard for moms because they have the responsibility to run the household. You're the ones taking care of usually everything around the house. You're the ones taking care of the family, right? And if you have a kid that is poisoned, and the hard part, I'm going to say this, don't lynch me for it, is moms, partially on you that you put the stuff into that kid while they were in the womb. Not your fault, part of the process. It just is. So then you spend a lot of your time, and I've worked so long with families who have kids in the spectrum, and we'll hit on my spoon theory probably in a second. But I've seen families spend every last freaking dollar they have trying to fix a kid and get absolutely nowhere, because all of this shit that is presented to them and put in front of them that is spun to say, this can help your kid because somebody's wanting $1, right? Especially in the community that you guys have spent a lot of time around, and I had experience in 20 years ago in the direct sales, direct to consumer sales, multi-level, whatever you want to call it. There's so much shit that is sold through those channels as great. So someone can make money. So it's spun as, oh, there's great intention. But and even in the rest of the wellness circles, and I've trained a bunch of people in that space and seen how things work behind the scenes, and it would make your stomach turn and make you sick. But it's a matter of knowing, as a mom, you're the one responsible for the health care of your household. And really the first one you have to take care of is yourself. And the level of stress, the level of multitasking, the level of overwhelmedness that women experience. Trust me, we have 4 kids. I have the most dynamic woman God ever made, that I get to serve. And especially with what we're doing now, the level of stress is way up here. And how do you manage it all? And you want to have references, but it's really hard to find the right references. And so it's a matter of putting everything together and going, okay, I'm responsible for this, and I got to do my research. And so it's important to have the right resources, the right content, but cross-check everything. That's why we're talking about this is for educational and informational purposes. I sound really good when I say a bunch of stuff. Fact check me. Don't trust me. I'm a guy.
So this is a conversation I was having with another mom yesterday, and she's in a position where I was 10 years ago. So I look at her and I think, that was me 10 years ago. That was me. And I tell her that I'm her future, right? So I tell her that there's hope and to hang in there because there's hope. But I've done it. I've been through every doctor. I've been through functional medicine doctors, holistic doctors. I've been at doctors where I sit there and say, I don't mean to be rude, but I know more than you. Because this is my one patient. I have one. And that patient I know everything about. So you might know your stuff, but you don't know my one patient the way I know my one patient. And there were days where I would walk away and I would think, I can't do this. I'm supposed to be mom. I'm not supposed to have this kind of knowledge and do this kind of research and feel this kind of responsibility and this kind of guilt. And so I've been down this path, right? So I've been from everywhere from not knowing a single thing to knowing pretty much what I thought was everything right. And I'm still fortunate enough to meet new people with better research because there is always there's something better out there. And for Shanna and I, it was a little bit of divine intervention. The timing was exactly right. My daughter regressed completely. Everything I had done was all back. And I was in tears and it was terrible. And in walks a husband and wife team into my life. And I just can't even yeah, you're it. And I can't even begin to say how grateful I am. So I understand. I get it being from the mom perspective of it. I'm going to question everything. I'm going to doubt everything. I am going to fact check you on everything. And because I know my kid and I want to make sure what you're telling me is okay for my kid. So I credit every mom in our community. You're there. That's why you're doing it. I get it. I've been there. I still am there. So we're just a couple steps ahead of you because we were fortunate enough to meet Clayton and Dr. Christina just a little before you. But I mean, this is the information. Everything he's bringing to you and telling you, it's there. And when you watch any videos of Dr. Christina, oh my gosh, I mean, there's no doubt how amazing she is and how much she knows her stuff. And she is a mom coming to you just like we are. She had the same why. Herself, her family, her kids. It's the exact same why. She just happened to be smarter than all of us and be able to figure it out. So I'm actually really grateful to have her in my life so she can figure it out for me. What a deep breath for myself to be able to say, oh, finally, there's somebody in my life that I can count on to the products that she's made for her own family, I can count on for mine.
Yes.
And it's working. It's working and it's working fast.
Well, your skin looks freaking amazing. And if you go back and look at some photos from a couple weeks ago or even a couple months ago from what you've posted on here, you don't look the same.
Thank you. So I will be honest, I do Clean Slate and I do Restore. I take it internally. I use it on my face every single night. I love it. So that's my favorite. I am the only one probably out here that hasn't used Zero In yet, mainly because I will do anything in my power to make sure that I have a family member that needs it, uses it, and has said to me, don't you dare run out. So that's next on my list. But yeah, Restore and Zero.
Yeah, but
Restore
with Zero,
and Clean Slate are working.
Make sure your family has it because.
Hi, you guys.
Hi. Oh my gosh.
You sit here. I'll stand behind you. Here, you sit down.
Sorry, my hair's still wet.
No problem. Oh my gosh. All right, everybody. Dr. Christina Rom, I'm so excited.
I'm excited to be here. Sorry.
Oh, thank you.
I'm a little late. I was on another Zoom with some countries that we're doing research with. So
wonderful. Oh, I'm just going to say this right now before I forget. At the end of this, at the top of the hour, you're hosting another Zoom, an all ladies Zoom, and there's Clayton's hosting an all men Zoom. So if you guys are interested in more, there at the top of the hour, we'll get that link out there.
Absolutely. We're talking about women's health, and we're going to be addressing all those issues. Yeah. So that'll be fun.
Now, don't be awestruck. You can ask questions.
I know. Now we're like, minds went blank. Like, what are we gonna do?
I heard you guys talking about polysorbate, and I would never say it right. You guys know I have a speech impediment. A lot of people don't know that about me, but I have a very hard time. Like when I used to say oncologist, I would say oncologist. So I've had to work really hard. It runs in my family. It's like dyslexia, only with words. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. I did hear a little bit. I have this weird ability to be writing and talking and hearing the other conversation. I think that comes from having multiple kids and working on multiple things, as you guys can identify with. But I just got off of a call. We're working with some governments over in Eastern Europe, and the Middle East. And they're asking me about what the proprietary formulas were with the quantum nanoemulsions and how I do it. And I said, well, my real secret is having kids and wanting the best formulas for my children and being able to put it in there, knowing that they will take it and wanting the best for them and for my future grandchildren and my friends and my family. So a lot of times we have to use certain ingredients that if you look them up, they can cause problems, right? Like in the vaccines, for example, when they use the polysorbate 80, it will cause, and that's the one that causes significant issues. It can cause people to have mental health issues. It can cause people to actually have anaphylactic reactions. It can cause mental retardation, ADHD, and it is a problem, right? And so a lot of times they change that ingredient now, of course, in the vaccines to have a different word. You know, as scientists, we like to come up with these different words that are kind of the same thing, just we make them a little bit different. And
same but different.
Yeah. So, but in the formulas that we have, the ingredients that we use natural and we use the safest that we can, but we have to have a preservative. You cannot ship products, just so you guys know, without certain preservatives in it, something in it that will preserve that so that when you ship, bacteria doesn't grow. So if you really look into that, there's positives and negatives, and it's kind of like saying Clayton has an outgoing personality and that's a positive. Well, but sometimes when I'm tired, it can be overwhelming, right? That particular ingredient, there's number 20, there's number 40, there's number 60, there's number 80, like there's different types of that. So we used the natural source of even the preservatives and the catalysts that we use. And we can get more into that later, but just to give you a tidbit on that. For example, let me give you another example. Pine bark, which is in Zero In, I'm switching subjects a little bit. can do negative things. But pine bark, when sourced from France, for example, increases sexual performance. It's known to have lots of articles that it helps with menopause, and it also helps with childbirth. So even though high ingredients and high sources of pine bark can cause issues, and if sourced from the wrong place, it has side effects. These are all things that are part of me being a scientist and making formulas. But the one thing I like to tell people now is, let's just put it this way. I want my kids to take the formulas. I want my kids to be, better. I have lost children. I've miscarried. I lost twins in the second trimester because of a brain tumor. I've lost different things in my life, and the children that I have, of course, I want them to have the best thing possible. So I would never make something that in a lab that could harm my children. I would only do something that could make their life better. It's kind of like when you guys cook things for your kids, at night, and you want what makes them healthy, right? And what they like to eat, but also what makes them healthy. And I would say the reason I'm unique as a scientist, I don't think it's the nanotechnology. I don't think it's nutrition or pharmaceutical, background that I have, bioscience. I don't think that's it. I honestly think it's because I'm a mother. I think the love you have as a mother is so intense and so strong and propels you to do the most important things in life and the best things in your life, that there's nothing else that compares to it. So I will say this, most biotechnologists are not mothers. Most nanobiotechnologists that really go postdoc and do those things, go biotechnology. In the medical clinical science, there was very few people that had children. And a lot of people were from other countries, but we did have people here. But I always believed I brought a unique approach to the business because it really matters to me. Not saying that with other scientists it doesn't, but I would say that has driven my decisions in my life and what I have done. And I think that's why these formulas that we have at Root, are, just so everyone knows, they're not the Root community gets these formulas, but I can tell you we've got governments and countries that, try to put LOIs and try to put things in front of me that want the formulas, right? And I do think there will be types of this formula that will go into pharmaceutical companies someday. And I also believe there will be forms of these formulas that will go into helping treat during this current virus pandemic and during the other pandemics that will occur. Because we know that now bacteria is proliferating. We know that fungus is proliferating. They just announced, in Tennessee, it's gone up in the last couple of weeks, 404%. And I think it's just different variants. And I also think the assays are catching things that aren't just COVID, right? So, but I want to say this, when you fight a virus and you put good things into your body while you're fighting it, you may get sick when the virus comes, towards your body. But if you put these blockades, like what we have with Clean Slate and Zero In and Restore in front of the virus, then what happens is your body's innate ability, you recharge yourself, you become stronger, you become better. You just did an upgrade to your system. And I think that's something we're all forgetting right now, and all this negativity with what's going on, we're worried about our kids. Let's be honest. We're worried about their future. I know if I am, you guys are, right? You guys are thinking, what about our grandchildren? What about my families? But the thing is, when we get through this, and as we get through this as a community and we continue to have the current products we have and the future products, we are resetting our immune systems. We are upgrading the software in our body where we can be stronger. There are negative things happening with some of the stuff associated with the virus and the vaccine. Let's be very honest. But if we can get the bad toxicity and heavy metals, break up the viruses, bacteria, get it out of our system and become stronger, we will be better human beings and better people for going through this. So that's why, I hear Clayton talking about you guys all the time. I know you probably don't know this, but he's put a lot of focus on you all because he believes in your mission. And he said to me the other day, I believe in them because they're like you. They really want to help people. They want to help people detox. They want to help people have better lives. They care about their families. They care about their friends. And so for me, I just want to thank you guys for that. I'm open to any questions, but I did want to tell you all that I think you've got a fantastic mission. I think you're doing amazing things. I say this all the time. If it was just me, probably nothing would happen. I would be in a lab producing things and, working in this small circle. But because of people like you all these products and the future of what we're going to do to help people is getting out there now, because we're just at the start of this. And I think I've never in my life had so many people attack me, to be honest, because we're doing something good, right? And at first it really hurt my feelings. And actually now it doesn't hurt me a lot because I see all these other doctors and scientists that the same thing is happening. And, all we're trying to do is something good for people and for their families so that they have something positive and not negative going on. And so if that's the reason I'm getting attacked or you guys get attacked or we have to fight these battles together, then we'll fight them because we are strong. We are mothers. With a mother, you're holding a baby and rocking the other baby with your other foot and then cooking with one arm. That's the reality. And you're so tired, that you can't sometimes make it through the day, but you do make it. And that's what I think will build what we have right here are people like that. I remember thinking the first time I had a child that got sick and then I got the flu, thinking, how do I take care of this child that's sick when I'm sick? And then one of my other children walked by and projectile vomited all over me. And I just thought, this is being a mother. This is being life. And so I think that during this pandemic and during the way our lives are, we kind of all got kind of lax before this. I don't know about you all, but my focus was, where do I buy clothes? I mean, I was obviously working during this, but I was more focused on what I looked like, my clothes, just kind of took life a little bit easier. Now that this has happened, it's time for the strong women and the strong men of the world to step up and do the right thing. And it doesn't mean other people are bad, but I will say this, it has become very apparent in my life who these strong people are, who are willing, and even the people that are weak, because sometimes I'm weak, believe me, but that are willing to stand up anyway when they're scared. It's obvious to see, the people that are the heroes. And a lot of them are mothers and fathers that are willing to take a stand and not just do what someone is telling them to do, but that they're doing what they know instinctively or in their hearts or in their minds and their intelligence and spirits that they should do for their families. And so I see a lot of that going on in this Root community. I know that both of you guys are two of those people that are really leading this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. That means so much.
Yeah.
I can't say it that well.
That's quite
No, we really appreciate it because that is exactly how we run our group. And we're here to support the whole community, moms, dads, anybody just fighting for their own health. That's what we're here for. I think I've learned the hard lesson in life that people that are talking negatively about somebody who's doing something positive, that's a reflection of them. And sometimes it's hard to remember that. And sometimes it's hard to, I think I'm echoing. Sometimes it's hard to remember that. And it's just an important focus. So take a moment at the end of the day and just remember that we're here for the good. And those that are talking negatively, that's okay. That's a reflection of them. So I truly appreciate all of the love and support you've given us. Clayton as well. I mean, the whole Root community feels like home. It really does.
What is he doing?
Entertainment purposes.
So someone asked me, is he always like this? I'm like, yes, always. It's not different. But I will tell you, this has been a hard time, like I said, for all of us. So, he's not quite as happy all the time right now. But anyway, so what have you guys talked about other than you're talking about the truth about health?
They had more questions, so
okay.
I'm going to leave it to you.
I have two questions that people have asked that I want to make sure we get to, and then I want to also go to a third one. So I'm just going to ask those real quick.
Okay.
We do have a few members that have found some studies and stuff that show that the ascorbic acid that is part of that's the vitamin C, along with the potassium sorbate, that can damage DNA and stuff like that, and so they were worried about that and the sourcing of it and everything. So I wanted to ask you that question real quick.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. If it's sourced from the wrong places, and if there's different numbers that you have attached to it that talk about, they don't say this when you source it, but talk about basically some are more toxic. Some are actually have great side effects, like they will help the body make it more bioavailable or help preserve it, and or are used as catalysts to make the formula work to hit what's called a steady state and peak plasma level in the system and retain that for stability, which is why with pharmaceutical companies, biotech companies, you use a lot of those ingredients. But I used nanoemulsions in it, and I used different things like magnets and polarization and fracking, and I also use different types of ingredients that will preserve it. I always try to do a 2-year shelf life, because I always worry. I worked on products before that companies didn't do that, and the bacteria grows. And I will tell you, with those two particular ingredients, you can use too much of it or use the wrong source, and it actually causes the good bacteria and fungus in the body, because they're actually, and I know you guys probably know this, there's good bacteria, right? There's good fungus. It's like a living community. It's the good and the bad. Those two ingredients can actually cause the good things in the body to die or to not work as effectively, and can actually impact even organs and stuff like that. But no, I was extremely careful with that. I used natural ingredients and sourced it from places where you don't, that it's not toxic to the body. It's not going to kill the bacteria. It's not going to cause a negative effect. In fact, and you guys probably already know this, so I'm probably saying stuff you already know. The polysorbate is often used from the sugar alcohols, right? So you can actually get it from different fruits, from the sugar in different fruits. And that's how I tried to source everything. And also the ascorbic acid. However, I'm how do I say this? I am held to a classification system because of these different countries we ship to. So I can't put certain things on a label because other countries don't recognize it. For example, red raspberry is not recognized in Europe, and in some countries it's a pharmaceutical, right? Zeolite, there's lots of different things that are that same way. So we have to hold to the classification system. So what I do is I go in and find, I don't ever want to do anything illegal. I have to follow the law. So I find an ingredient that is in there that hits that classification. I don't mislead, but I don't put the actual like fruit it comes from, or where the actual sugar alcohol comes from, what fruit or what vegetable that comes from. And I say this a lot, you guys, fruits and vegetables are good for the body, right? We need the vitamins and minerals. A lot of the reasons I don't have to add a lot of vitamin and minerals to our formulas is they're already there in the oils and plants that I use. But also because I'm using plants and seeds and roots and oils, I don't know if people realize this, there's actually already those ingredients in that. Does that make sense? So it's part of it. So when you eat an orange, it's in there, right? But I'm not putting on the label an orange or a mango, because a lot of times they'll make us take it off. So I think that people are getting confused because what they're doing really is looking at those ingredients that are used in a lot of pharmaceutical biotech and some of the nutraceuticals that are used the wrong way. And so they're not incorrect. They're just not understanding the full picture and what goes into the actual product. So they don't have to worry about it, but I know that they're going online and looking at all this stuff. And I understand that, because even if I wasn't a scientist and hadn't worked in manufacturing and done all of this, I would, like, for example, when I went to Cornell in nutrition, right, and got the certification, they don't teach that part at Cornell. But I also, went to Cornell in pharmaceutical, and I also went in nanotechnology, and then I worked for those companies. So I've just spent years researching it. But even like my initial background, I wouldn't have known. It just takes really, it's kind of like having children. At first you don't know what to do. And then after by the time you got a couple and they're older, you're like, oh, you can actually take the pacifier off the ground, put it in their mouth, and they're going to survive. That's good bacteria, right? But your first one, you're like, no, don't put that back in your mouth. Right. So,
and any concerns with oxalates?
No, I'm not.
Remove them. We remove them.
Yeah. Well, are you saying pertaining to our products?
Yeah, so the vitamin C source can be a problem on occasion with people with oxalate issues. So I know that's been one of the questions. We have a lot of community members with oxalate issues.
Well, the oxalate issues come from being toxic and polluted. So if you remove the toxin and pollution problem, the oxalate problem goes away. So it's the big thing of looking at, do you want to understand the etiology and the cause and remove that, or are you still trying to treat symptoms?
But I understand your question. Yeah, and I understand what Clayton just said. The answer that I have to that is he's accurate, but I can see why there would be a concern. And so if that individual is concerned, they would want to start with, like, let's use Restore for an example. With people with those kinds of issues, I actually had this question. I don't know if it was from you all or someone else about a week ago. I would start them on a tablespoon and then go up. If you ask me, why would you do that? Because I would want them to get used to it. Because when you have those types of issues, anything can activate it. Anything can cause problems. So you just want to be extremely careful. It's like when someone has a kidney, they're on dialysis and kidney disease. Someone asked me the other day, what would you do? And I said, well, with Restore, I want to start with a teaspoon and then go up to a full packet. And it was actually some doctors. I was doing a doctor call and they said, well, I've been giving them 2-3 packets a day and they're doing fantastic. And I said, great, but I just always try to be cautious because I don't ever want to negate or minimize how people are feeling or what they're going through. But I do agree with Clayton, like your products that eradicate, and I think that's the word we need to try to use, eradicate things out of the system to help the body be more stable. Your clean slate should assist people in that area, even though we can't make that claim. If they were on the Trinity, they should be doing significantly better after, I would say, 4 to 6 weeks. But they're going to have to take some time to get there.
Right. So it would be not really that it has vitamin C in it, but it's such a minute amount, and because of the sourcing of it, it would just be very slowly going into it because anything can trigger the body, and you want to remove what triggers. So it's not necessarily that the vitamin C or the ascorbic acid in the clean slate would do it, but it's that it's helping remove what's causing the issue, and it's such a small amount because it goes into the cell and isn't just going everywhere because it's such a small amount and it's nano-emulsified that the issue should, I don't want to say resolve, but you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's kind of like, yes, absolutely. You're correct. But it's like when someone asked, what was the question I had the other day on, I think it was apple cider vinegar, and they were asking about warfarin. I can't remember if it was that or one of the other ingredients. And I said, these are small amounts that are being used, and the way it's formulated is formulated in a way that shouldn't impact the body the same way, like if they ate a grapefruit, for example, or a mango. Does that make sense? Because you do have to worry in those instances on how much vitamin C you're getting directly when you're actually eating that. I know that sounds different, but if you guys will notice on the label, I'm using a lot of the root and the oil in the plant, the powder from the plant. So it's completely different than actually eating, the whole fruit or vegetable.
Kind of like the idea of homeopathy, to where you give just such small amounts that it assists the body instead of creating reactions.
It does, and they use that a lot when kids are allergic to things, to build up an immunity so that their body can then handle it. Because the problem with individuals that suffer from this is their body is not reacting well to the vitamin C, and it can actually become more of like a toxin. But that should not happen with the formulations from these products.
Perfect.
Wonderful.
And what about antibiotics? Does Clean Slate interfere with antibiotic use or anything like that?
It should not interfere with antibiotic use. In fact, I have an article I can get to Clayton to get to you guys, which talks about the interaction of orthosilic acid and zeolites and how it impacts pharmaceutical products. And it should not impact the pharmaceutical products. It shouldn't, because they've done studies on it, looking at it, and it hasn't had a negative impact. I will say this, I've got a call in 3 minutes, and I think if I'm late, Dory is going to string me up.
Right. Nope, we're headed over there as well. So that's wonderful. So thank you so much.
Thank you, you guys.
Yeah, wonderful talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Christina.
Thank you. Can I go into the other office to do that call?
You want to do yours over there, and then I'll do mine here? Yeah, you can do whatever you want. You're the boss.
All right, and we're going to thank them out. That was wonderful. We're going to thank Clayton for his time today as well, and he has the men's version of the talk today. The link is in the comments of today's live, so if you guys want to jump in to the women's or to the men's, cameras are required because they want to make sure that the right people are in the right meeting.
And for the guys, you actually have to have the tools to get in. You can't just identify as male to come to man school.
So if you want some more entertainment,
right. Was this not the greatest presentation I've ever done? You know, because as a guy, just to be able to shut up and get out of the way and let the women talk, that's how you present greatness. So
wonderful. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day. We hope to see you in the next hour.